I really cannot overstate how shocking it was to load up Far Cry 3 and be met with Paper Planes by MIA as the intro song. In this intro, we see a group of 20-somethings exploring around this absolutely beautiful tropical paradise. Hanging out with the local animals, going to clubs, hang gliding, skydiving, you name it, they are basically doing everything there is to do on this island, which is kind of convenient because we're going to be doing everything there is to do in this game, as far as achievements go at least. I've actually never played a game in the Far Cry franchise at all, so I am super excited to take a look at this. It really seems like we're kind of having the best vacation of all time, until we realize that what we've been seeing is actually a video that we're being shown. Our antics all around the island happen to get the attention of Voss and his pirates, and he is not super pleased with us. We are playing as a guy named Jason Brody, and we've been placed in a cage with our brother Grant, with all of our other friends being held somewhere else in this compound, or maybe in somewhere else in Voss's network. We're not super sure at the moment. Now that we're captured, it seems like Voss's plan is to auction us off back to our parents in America with the hope of getting a very large paycheck in exchange. Deciding that he's been scary enough for now, Voss decides to walk away when we learn that Grant actually wasn't secured all that tightly, and he manages to bust us out of our cuffs as well. It's really lucky that Grant was here with us because it turns out he was in the army and he has the training to distract and take down the guard that's watching our current prison cell and allows us to escape out into the open. From this point, we begin slowly creeping our way through the pirate camp, following along in Grant's footsteps and hoping that nobody will realize that we're here. We find some stuff that will actually be pretty useful for us, including a phone, a map, a lighter, and a camera. Even still, escape seems like it's going to be an impossible task as we see the number of pirates hanging out around and also the amount of people that have been captured by Voss's boys. We managed to make it very slightly outside of the compound where we begin going over the map and Grant's plan to get all of our friends back when he is suddenly shot in the side by Voss. We attempt to grab the wound and try to stop the bleeding, but the damage is already done. I mean, it's a gunshot to the neck. We're going to be very hard pressed to save him, and we see the light fade from his eyes pretty soon after. At that point, it would make a lot of sense for Voss to kill us or throw us back in the cage, but he actually decides to give us 30 seconds to run in the jungle while his boys hunt us down. So I guess we're gonna do just that, as we see a bunch of bullets fly past us, some even hitting us as a matter of fact, but we don't really seem too bothered by that as we go tumbling down a big hill. We make it to a pretty rickety looking bridge while a helicopter flies up beside us. Of course, that helicopter has a big machine gun that knocks the bridge down and drops us into the water below, which really makes me wonder why they let us run at all, but I guess we survived, so you know. We hit the game's title screen and earn our first achievement, First Blood, for escaping the pirates and making it out into the wild. When we wake up, we find that we're actually inside of a building and under the care of a man named Dennis. A surprisingly friendly face considering everything that we've been through so far. Well, except for the fact that he's numbed our arm and tattooed us in our sleep, but I mean, I guess he did save our life, so we owe him that, I guess? We tell Dennis that we need to find our younger brother Riley as well as our other friends. He says that unfortunately he can't help us, but he can teach us how to help ourselves. Sort of a teach a man to fish thing, and really I guess that's the best we could hope for. Heading outside, we learn that we're actually in a place called Amanaki Village, and Dennis has a lot of friends that live here. Turns out that people are actually pretty happy to see us here because we're a sign of hope. We managed to escape Voss's camp, somebody who has been terrorizing all of the locals as well. Our first stop in the village, though, naturally has to be the gun store, where we go ahead and pick up our first pistol, though we won't be using it too much or for too long. With our first gun in hand, Dennis sends us out to a nearby radio tower. He wants us to climb up to the top of it and get his signals activated again so that he can communicate with other nearby villages. So we actually do just that. We climb our way up to the very top of the radio tower and click a couple buttons on the fuse box and things are good to go again. Turns out these things are pretty easy to operate. I was definitely expecting to get jumped by pirates once I got a little bit up this tower, but there are actually none in sight, though I guess there is a lot of game left for us to get jumped many more times. It turns out that there are actually a total of 18 radio towers that we need to activate, and they are pretty crucial for us as well. Getting these radio towers back online unlocks some free weapons for us to pick up in any village that we might visit, and also shows us the locations of some pirate camps that we can take down and recapture, quests in the area that we might be interested in, and animals that we can hunt down for their resources. We'll get into that later though. After that, Dennis gives us a quest to go to a nearby area and work on collecting some resources to improve some of our equipment. I decide to hop in a car for this mission, and this is honestly maybe one of the last times you'll see me in a vehicle. I honestly found running a little bit better in this game, which is kind of weird. Anyway, the quest that Dennis sent us on involves collecting some herbs that we can find pretty commonly scattered throughout the map, but that are pretty useful for crafting different syringes, primarily healing in our case though. We also take out a couple of local tapirs, which we can then skin and turn their hide into a simple rucksack that we can use to hold a lot more items. There are a lot more animals to take out and a lot more upgrades to get though. Speaking of upgrades, that doesn't just apply to our physical gear that we're carrying, it also applies to us in the form of taking skills through our skill points that we collect from leveling up. There is a pretty wide range in what skills do, and also in how useful they are. Things like being able to do silent takedowns and improving your lung capacity, pretty good. Things like improving your ledge drop ability, whatever. In addition to needing skill points to actually invest and get the skills, some skills also require you to complete certain tasks, like getting a certain amount of kills with a turret gun, but we'll get more into that later. We return to the village when we hear some chatter coming in over that radio that we grabbed in Voss's compound. We hear that some of the local pirates have one of the Americans that they captured and are hanging out at a compound pretty close to where we are, so of course we've got to investigate and go try to get our friend back. With the help of Dennis and some other members of the Rakyat tribe, we managed to pull up on the outpost where our friend is supposedly being held and complete our first capture. This is going to be pretty common throughout this game. There are a lot of different outposts that we're going to need to take, but this is the first one. We bust inside the main building of the outpost without checking our corners or anything, so we absolutely could have just been blasted, but we find that there's nobody in here, but there is a radio where we hear the message that the American they had kidnapped actually managed to escape out to the west. The boys are all very impressed with our skill in combat, but actually the thing that we care the most about is our friend Lisa apparently managed to escape all the way out west to a guy named Dr. Earnhardt's house. This guy is on okay terms with the Rakyat tribe, so it seems like we'll be able to head on over there and see our friend again. Once you capture an outpost, it clears all of the enemy pirates out of the area and makes traversal a little bit easier. But the other thing that it unlocks for us are a couple of little missions. These are going to be taking down higher difficulty pirates in the area and hunting different wild animals. The first of these animal quests is for taking down a pack of rabid dogs, and once we complete that, we earn the achievement Bagged and Tagged for completing our first Path of the Hunter quest. After that, we take on our first Wanted Dead side quest, and while walking up on a group of pirates patrolling, we actually get our first tutorial for using the camera. A super useful tool that we can use to zoom in on pirates that are far away and get a little tag over our head that is super useful. We approach and kill the first of the pirate leaders without him even noticing that we're there, as we earn the achievement In Cold Blood for completing the first Wanted Dead quest. I tried to take a crack at moving around the area that we've already cleared out of pirates a little bit quicker, but when I hop on this ATV, I find that this is actually part of another quest that are called supply drops. In these, we basically drive an ATV or a boat or something very quickly around the island, and we follow a trail of smoke, and eventually we deliver some meds or guns or something to a drop location, and in this case we earn the achievement Road Trip for completing the supply drop quest. While fighting some pirates on the coast, I noticed a finned creature swimming around out in the ocean, and I thought, hey, I wonder if I can kill that. And it turns out that I can, as I earn the achievement Hunter Hunted for luring and killing a predator. Sorry if this is getting a little bit disjointed, by the way. The open world has really opened up, and I'm going a little mad with power. Speaking of the open world, at this point I actually decided to go around and grab a couple more of the radio towers and get a little bit more of the map exposed and opened up for us to adventure into. While moving towards the next main story mission though, I actually used my camera to scan a couple nearby enemies and earn the achievement Island Paparazzi for tagging a total of 25 enemies. We approach the greenhouse of a mansion where our next mission ping is, and we find the man that we've been looking for after all, the man himself, Dr. Earnhardt. This guy is out here mixing a bunch of different kinds of drugs and medicines that he then distributes to both the pirates and the Rock Yacht tribe. My instincts on this game are pretty wrong though. I really felt like this guy was going to end up betraying us or be a super bad guy, but it turns out that he's actually alright. We head inside the mansion and actually find that it's our friend Daisy. Not the friend that we thought we were going to find, but this still works. Turns out that she was injured pretty severely while fleeing from the pirates, and Dr. Earnhardt has been attempting to fix her up, but he is actually out of the mushroom that is super important to the antidote, so he's gonna send us on a quest to a nearby cave to grab some of that to further administer the antidote. As we're walking out to go look for these mushrooms though, we see that Dr. Earnhardt sits down on the bed as we leave and the door magically slams shut behind us. This honestly does not look good as far as my this guy is a creep theory. At the doctor's request, we go ahead and swim down a little lake into a cave. Hopefully these mushrooms are right where this guy says they are. Things are definitely looking very good for us as we descend into the cave and inhale some mushroom spores that make us start seeing and hearing things. We hear the voices of our brothers talking about our life off of this island, and we also see a building moving slowly further and further away from us. Eventually we do manage to track down the mushrooms, but honestly, who knows how long we've been down in this cave. All of our friends could definitely be dead by this point. We also choose to grab one mushroom instead of this whole big group, so I guess the doctor will have to come back later. We return to Daisy with our magic mushrooms and find that she's actually awake this time. She tells us that the doctor is actually a pretty good guy and definitely saved her from the pirates. We have to break the unfortunate news about what happened to Grant, but the good news is that our other friends are still out there, we just need to go track them down. The doctor is a little bit apprehensive about using his mansion as the hideout for all of the people that we're rescuing from the pirates, but Daisy manages to convince him because it seems like he has a little bit of a soft spot for her. So now we just need to go find the others. Easy as that. We exit the bedroom and earn the achievement Magic Mushroom for completing that quest, but as I walk down the stairs, I also notice that the door once again shuts behind me. I don't know about this guy. Completing that quest also earned us another level and another skill point, which we can use to purchase our 5th skill overall as we earn the achievement Inked Up. By the way, every time we earn a skill, our tattoo expands, and that's not weird at all, don't worry about it. Just chilling outside of the doctor's mansion, we find that he actually has a hang glider, and this is definitely the best way to move around the map in this game. Now, it's not the easiest thing in the world to control, but man, you do move pretty quickly. I take that hang glider and fly it basically directly into a nearby pirate outpost, alerting everyone, and naturally they kill me pretty quickly. But upon this death, I actually get the game to crash and boot me back into Steam, which was a little bit concerning. I was only a couple hours into this game, but actually it didn't really happen again after this, so just unlucky, I guess. After reloading, I do manage to take this outpost down, but I do have to say that between going loud and going stealthy, loud is a little bit more frustrating. If you allow the guards to spot you and raise the alarm, they'll pull in a bunch of reinforcements and it becomes a much bigger hassle to take everyone down and get the final capture in. So we're primarily gonna do stealth for the rest of this game. You know, where it's possible. We have a little visit with some of the local goats, and turn the coats that they donated to us into a new weapon holster, allowing us to hold more weapons. It also earns us the achievement Artsy Craftsy for crafting a total of 5 upgrades to our equipment. 2 weapons is actually a pretty huge improvement to the quality of life in this game, because now, in addition to our regular assault rifle that we're carrying, we can start carrying around the pistol that we've upgraded to include a suppressor, and that is super useful for taking out the alarms in outposts that can no longer be raised. And once the alarms have been dispatched, there is actually no way for the remaining pirates to call in reinforcements, which allows us to go as loud as we want. It's actually kind of funny how that works, because despite going loud, we managed to earn the achievement Unheard for liberating an outpost without triggering an alarm, and also Rebel with a Cause for liberating a total of 3 outposts. With that outpost under our control, we head inside to the automated vending machine to start turning in some of the resources that we've collected in exchange for money. And then we can use that money to buy some of the maps for the local area that put things like relics and other collectibles on the map. Here we also earn the achievement Money to Burn for spending a total of $5,000 at the shop. Pretty early considering this is the only money-based achievement. You know, while we're in here spending money anyway, we may as well go ahead and fully upgrade this suppressed pistol that we've been running, as we earn the achievement Aftermarket Junkie for buying all of the attachments and paint jobs for a single weapon. Back to the main quest now. Dennis had an idea. Maybe we should try to check out this big wrecked ship called the Medusa, where a lot of pirates tend to hang out. Here we can probably grab some radios and get some more intel on where our friends are being held. This is a very wide open area with a lot of pirates patrolling around, so we need to stay in absolute stealth while we take out the main radio operators. Luckily, nobody's standing up on top of the ship and looking down though. I absolutely love a stealth mission, so I have no problem doing this slow, sneak around, try to take guys out one at a time sort of thing. Once we take out all of the guards, we manage to make our way to the main control room. Inside the radio room, we get a little bit more insight into Voss's plan. He wants to squeeze our parents of as much ransom money as possible, and then go ahead and pass us on to the black market anyway for a double payout. And right when we get that information, the ship's alarm gets raised. That means that an absolute ton of guards come pouring in to try to stop us, but we have the high ground, so really there's no competition. We can take everyone out pretty easily. Returning to the village, we tell Dennis that we overheard that our friends are being held somewhere called the PC. Basically like Pokemon, but probably a lot less fun. We then learn that the key to getting our friends back is going to be taking out all of the weapons that the pirates are using. So we get sent on our next mission to go take out all of the weapons that are currently being held in the nearby lumber mill. Obviously, we're going to go do some more side content before we actually progress the story though, so we decide to go hunting for some deer. And in this case, this one's actually pretty lucky because we earn the achievement Jungle Journal for unlocking 50 entries in the survival guide. The survival guide, of course, being primarily a list of things that we've killed. And of course, we spend some more of our obligatory time working on grabbing different radio towers and also clearing out the closest pirate outposts, and we work on doing those primarily in stealth to get some reps in on that skill. One of these outposts that we take out actually have a slightly different quest on the quest board, this being a rare animal hunt. These quests are pretty much the same as the other animal hunting missions, but in most cases, it's looking for one particular very rare kind of animal. In this case, it's a golden tiger that we take down, and we earn the achievement Poacher for hunting a rare animal. These rare animal resources also give us the final upgrade to our equipment, so they are very important. After that, I managed to accidentally walk into the zone for the next main quest, so I guess let's go ahead and take out the lumber mill. This is another place that is super infested with pirates, so I make sure to do a pretty good job looking around and scanning as many of them as I can. It seems like there are a lot of guys here, but it's actually not too difficult to maneuver around and work on this in a stealthy way. After we take out the majority of the guards and disable the alarm system, we head inside of the main weapon storage where we plant a bomb and then run away as fast as our little legs will carry us to avoid this big explosion. Once the timer hits 0, the storage in the lumberyard is no more, and now we can turn our focus to making it to the PC or Pirates Cove, where in theory our friends are all being kept. We get a quick phone call from Daisy where we choose to omit the killing that we've been doing from our status update, but she informs us that she's actually moved to a cave underneath the doctor's house because it's a little safer. This definitely doesn't sound like a trapped in the basement situation, it's fine. We decide to just go ahead and head on over to the Pirates Cove, and we see the main operator who is definitely holding the keys to get into the prison along with a ton of other guards. I don't know what got into me at this point, but I decided to just go for a crazy long shot with the bow on the main guard and see what happens. And I am very surprised when it actually hits. Now, this obviously alerts all of the guards in the area that we're here, but it was pretty sick to hit that shot. This actually teaches me a couple of important lessons as well. Number one, wooden walls are not impenetrable, and they can definitely be shot down with enough bullets, and also these enemies are not afraid to absolutely pepper you with Molotovs if you let them get close enough. I mean, look at this fire that got going here. As we approach the prison, we hear the voice of our girlfriend Liza crying out over and over again, but when we get inside, we realize that it's a video Voss recorded. She's not actually in here, she just was at some point. Seeing this video playing would maybe make you think, why did Voss set this up? Did he know we were gonna come here? But that isn't really the kind of thing that Jason Brody thinks about. We walk around a corner expecting Voss, but we unfortunately find another pirate who absolutely conks us in the back of the skull and informs us he'll be taking us to him. When we come to, we find that that pirate was not lying. We have been reunited with Voss, but we can also see our brother Riley and our girlfriend Liza are also here as well. Voss is not happy. He seems to be accusing us of working with someone named Citra, and as a little bit of revenge, he decides he's going to burn us all alive. Voss decides to go ahead and start the fire up, but once again makes a crucial mistake in that he leaves the room and doesn't stay to see the work get finished. We launch ourselves to the floor, which manages to actually break the ground out from underneath us. I guess these ruins are old, but it also manages to free us from our chair, so that's something. Once we crash to the bottom of the hotel, we stand up like it's nothing, and we find that our guns are actually still in our pocket. Seems like a major oversight by Voss and his boys. I get that it's kinda to benefit the gameplay and not make you redo anything, but weird. Anyway, we make it to the top and we manage to free Liza, but we're still trapped in this burning building, so things are gonna get a little weird. Eventually we reach a dead end, so we decide to just run and jump off the building, which results in us hitting a bunch of scaffolding that inevitably breaks, and we crash straight down to the ground below. Gotta level with you, that fall did not look pretty. Luckily, there's a truck very close nearby. Now, Jason has no idea where he is, and neither would Liza, but we'll just go ahead, throw her in the driver's seat with no idea where we're going, we'll hop in the back with the grenade launcher, and we'll just cruise down the road and fight off pirates, no big thing. Eventually, we get off the main road and hop out of the car to celebrate escaping, though you can't really celebrate for too long with the circumstances that we're in. We break the news about Grant's death and also that we managed to find Daisy, and now we just need to find our friends Keith and our brother Riley. We also earn the achievement Worst Date Ever right here for completing this mission and escaping the burning hotel. We reunite Daisy and Liza, and Daisy actually has some good news. In this cave under the doctor's house, she found a pretty old but seemingly in decent condition boat. She's pretty good at repairing things, so she's gonna take a crack at repairing the boat's engine so that we can all escape off this island together. I guess it's a plan, but it doesn't seem super great, but I guess we'll roll with it. We get a quick call from Dennis informing us that it's finally time for us to meet this woman we've heard so much about named Citra. She will be the main person that can help us in taking out Voss and getting our friends back from this point forward. So I guess it's time for us to return to doing our thing, clearing some outposts, upgrading our equipment, pretty far I might add, and unlocking even more of the radio towers. We also gained access to an item called the Repair Tool, a melee weapon that's really supposed to be used for repairing vehicles that have become undrivable, but we use it for just one kill to earn the achievement Improper Use. We hit that pretty far long shot on the prison guard earlier, and that was sick, but it wasn't quite 70 meters, which is what we need for the achievement Toxophyllite. I noticed that I was standing on a mountain, and there was an outpost below us, one thing led to another, and we had to go for that shot. We also earned the achievement Needle Exchange for crafting a total of 25 syringes. And finally for this section, the achievement Full Bars for activating a total of 9 radio towers. After that, we meet back up with Dennis outside of Citra and the Rakyat Temple. This seems like a pretty scary affair, as Dennis has to be the one to speak for us and gets us entry into the temple. Inside, we finally meet Citra and get our council where we can ask for help. We inform her that she took our friends and we need assistance in taking Voss down, but that doesn't really seem to satisfy her. But what does catch her eye is when we say we need to get our brother back and we would do anything. This gets Citra's attention and she's a little bit more willing to work with us. In order to get Citra's help, we need to prove that we are willing to do anything to become a Rakyat warrior, and that starts with drinking this mysterious potion that she hands over to us. This puts us into a weird dream-like area where we're playing a card game with our friends that we came to the island with, but in the distance we see a man in a white suit. Of course, he starts walking away, so we're gonna follow him. This leads us to some pretty weird places, honestly, but ultimately it takes us to the object that Citra desires the most, this ceremonial knife that we find floating in the temple in front of us, and now we have our task. When we come to, we inform Dennis about the man in the white suit, and he tells us that we should probably head over to the shanty town in the east to try to investigate that. We also earn the achievement One of Us for completing the Rakyat initiation here. This is the point in the game where I started to get a little bit concerned about being able to complete all of the different tasks that we need to in order to unlock all of the perks. For the most part, these are pretty unlockable when you play through the game naturally, but some stuff like getting takedowns from a ledge below another enemy are things that I probably wouldn't have done without looking at the things that we actually need to complete first. And if you take out all of the outposts and then get to the end and realize you're missing some stuff, you're just gonna have to hope that you can naturally find a place to complete it or do it in the main story that you have left. That is super inconvenient, so if you're looking to 100% this game, I would definitely recommend taking a look at that before you get too deep into the story. I decided to go ahead and knock out another pretty quick achievement by heading over to one of these big red rocks that represent the Trials of the Rakyat. These are little score-based mini-games that actually had an effect when the game still had online servers enabled, but in my case were a little bit too late for that. But it seems like these would have been a cool idea at the time. In the one that I played, you basically just drive around in a car, hitting as many pirates as possible and trying not to die. Once the timer ends, if we've reached a high enough score, we earn the achievement Let the Trials Begin for beating a trial. I'm not going to cover every single side quest in the game, but just this one that I think is interesting. There are these shorter little side quests that you get from villagers all around the island. And in this case, we see this woman who's telling us that a plane crashed somewhere nearby last night and nobody seems to be listening to her about it. We then head over to the nearby plane wreckage that sticks out, but it's a little bit weird because there are definitely some vines and stuff growing through the ceiling. There's a man hanging out there that informs us this plane actually crashed 10 years ago, and then he tells us that there is no old woman that lives in the village nearby. Creepy. It's a short one, but kinda neat. We wrap up our final rare animal hunt with the one-horned buffalo, and then we can go ahead and make our final equipment upgrade. It's a little weird that there's no achievement for this one, honestly. Having all of these upgraded is super important, and honestly, if we had to play this whole game with the minimum money in the wallet, that would be so annoying. Back on the main quest, we head on over to that shanty town that Dennis mentioned, and we hop in for a quick game of poker, when who should walk in but the man from our dreams in the white suit. So naturally, when he leaves the bar, we decide to do a little bit of stalking. He leads us to a shack eventually, but it turns out that we actually weren't the ones hunting him. He noticed that we were following him, and now he's trapped us in a room with C4. But when we inform him that we're Jason Brody, he's willing to work with us a little bit. He informs us that Voss has our friend Oliver, somebody that I completely forgot about, and he is also currently looking for the location of Keith. Seems like this guy has answers, so maybe we can work with him. It turns out that the man in the white suit is named Willis Huntley, and he is actually an agent of the US government undercover here looking into something big. He informs us that while Voss is the main guy on this island, he is actually just following orders from a guy farther up than him named Hoyt, who is actually running a whole slave trading operation and also pretty big in the weed business. Willis gives us some advice to go burn down the weed farm and maybe we can make a deal happen. We head on over to the weed fields with our flamethrower in hand and find that this really is a pretty large operation. I'm scared to play the music that's going during this mission for fear of copyright, but I've got to recommend you go check it out somewhere else on YouTube. We charge headfirst directly out into the fields and immediately start torching these conveniently placed oil barrels that are all around the fields to get a big old blaze going. This mission is also pretty useful because it allows me to finish up my 50th kill with the flamethrower to earn the achievement Heartless Pyro, which is actually the rarest achievement in the game as of completion and right now. With all 5 of the fields ablaze, the final shipment decides to try to take off in a nearby boat, but we get him with the RPG, and we complete the mission. Returning to Willis, he actually hands over an earpiece that's going to be super useful for communication. It's really nice to be working with the feds on this one. Willis also has a recording of a conversation between Voss and Hoyt where they talk about what they're going to do with our friends, and it seems like the clock is ticking, so we really need to start springing into action and getting some rescue missions going. First, we need to figure out where they actually are, though. Our next step is to head over to a place called Barristown, but first we need to find a transportation manifest that might list what they're doing with our friend Oliver. It turns out that the only guy that happens to currently know where the transportation manifest is that man in the stripy shirt in the middle who is being forced at gunpoint to run across a minefield. His 2 friends in the Minecraft Steve drip unfortunately get blown up, but he manages to make it across the field. So now we get the joy of creeping across the minefield after him, and then escorting him to his house, where we can then defend him from incoming intruders while he searches for the documents that we need. We hold off the incoming pirates, and Rongo manages to find the transportation manifest, where we can go ahead and snap a couple pictures for Willis to decode. Once again, I really thought that when I leaned down to look at this, I was going to get smashed over the back of the head. I've really got to be more trusting in this game. That transportation manifest eventually leads us down to a nearby pier where we see a bunch of military vehicles have pulled up, including one containing our friend Oliver. The guard seems a little bit excessive for just this one guy, but I guess they knew Jason Brody was going to hit them pretty hard. The transportation manifest informs us that their plan was to load Oliver up on that helicopter, so we're gonna need to go ahead and strike before they have a chance to do that. From this range, we start taking some pretty good sniper shots, if I do say so myself, to take out and stall the guards for long enough that Oliver will manage to make his way to the end of the pier and hop on a boat. We take out the final few guards as Oliver hops in the boat and makes his way over to us, and for some reason, and over the boat's engine, he can absolutely hear us calling out to him, so he stops right in front of those guys that were just shooting at him. And once again, with no real direction given on where to go or how to escape, we hop on the back of the minigun as our friend pilots the ship and takes us to safety. We take another break after we get into relative safety, and we celebrate getting Oliver back as we earn the achievement Hands Off My Stoner for rescuing Oliver before he was sold as a slave. We bring him back to the cave where the rest of our friends are hanging out, and we learn that they're a little bit concerned about us. We're not really the Jason that they knew anymore. We're running around with guns, talking about killing pirates, and going on rescue missions, and they're just a little bit concerned. I wasn't really listening though because my eyes were locked on this big bowl of pills that have an eat me sign on them, so we're gonna check that out. There are actually a couple of these little pill-based side missions where we basically go into a dreamscape and see some of the events that went on before we were all captured. They all take place in this weird nightclub that we kind of saw a little bit in the intro. Once we exit the cave and get cell reception again, we get a call from Willis who informs us that our friend Keith has actually been located. He was just recently purchased by a man named Buck. We head back over to the shantytown where Buck is now hanging out and learn that he purchased Keith as a sort of bargaining chip. Turns out that he has also heard about the legend of Jason Brody and he wants us to do a little task for him. And it's actually a little bit weird. He wants us to find that knife that we saw in Citra's dream world for him. That seems a little strange, but I guess it's the only way for us to get Keith back, so I guess we're going to go rob a boat that is supposedly holding it. This mission is pretty cool. I hadn't really messed with jet skis or really going out into the water at all, actually, so it was nice to get out and go rob this boat that was definitely here way before this. I will say I didn't do the best job being stealthy on this approach though. Once we get inside of the boat, we fight through some waves of enemies and disable the alarms. Before we eventually reach the laptop that I guess was our goal all along, Jason does some of the elite hacking that we've come to know him for. Before we grab this little stone circle, this isn't the knife that we were coming for, but it's the closest thing that we have at the moment. We also didn't do a super great job with our hacking as we clearly get caught and an explosive gets set off launching us up into the ceiling, and it seems like the boat is going down. Luckily for us, Jason comes to pretty quickly, and we do find that we have become completely submerged in water. So now we get to race the sinking ship as it's going down. We need to swim our way through the hallways that we just fought through. We manage to escape the sinking ship, but we pass out and once again come to on the beach where Buck seems to be waiting for us already. He informs us that that stone circle that we found is actually a compass, and if we want to get Keith back, we're gonna need to follow it. I got so excited about my time in the water, I decided to go ahead and get the water-based achievement that we were still missing. There is a syringe that you can craft that allows you to dive very deep down into the water without drowning, so we take that and start diving to earn the achievement Fearless or Stupid for diving more than 60 meters down. We take another little main story break to go around and grab some of the collectibles that are available in the area. After that, we follow Buck's instructions and follow the compass, but when we arrive at the bunker, we find that Buck is actually already here waiting, which kind of makes me wonder why he made us follow the compass in the first place. This bunker is, once again, you guessed it, absolutely infested with pirates. It is pretty useful though. One of the challenges that I was worried about being able to complete was performing a lower ledge takedown, and this gives me the perfect opportunity to do that. I also happened to spy a perfect area to take on another achievement that we had left by luring a large group of pirates all into one little spot using our throwing rocks. They don't seem to think it's weird at all that there's a trail of rocks that are grouping them all together, but it's good for us because we earn the achievement Love the Boom for killing 4 enemies simultaneously with 1 explosion. Eventually we make our way all the way into the ruins and we find a secondary piece for the compass, but just as we pick it up, we feel that the ruins are starting to come down. Feels like maybe we shouldn't be disturbing all of these ancient relics. Of course, we manage to find a secondary pathway out of the ruins, and as we reach the surface, we find that Buck is once again waiting for us, and it's starting to get a little bit creepy at this point, honestly. Even though he seems to know where we are at all times, he didn't know that we didn't find the knife down there, and he isn't exactly pleased until we realize that we can combine the compass with this ring that we've found. Once we slap them together, they start glowing, so we have another compass marker to go follow. But before we do that, let's take another break and work on a couple of achievements, starting with Rock Always Wins for fully distracting 25 enemies with rocks. We earn that achievement while luring 1 pirate under a nearby zip line that we can then slide down and take a kill to earn the achievement Never Saw It Coming for getting a kill from a zip line. Alright, back to the main story. I think everybody probably gets the gist by now. We show up to the next place the compass was pointing, but oh wow, Buck is already waiting for us. Time to head into the mines. This mine area actually features snipers and heavies though, so it seems like the pirates are evolving. Eventually we arrive at a super old wooden elevator that we step into and immediately starts moving, and we don't question that, but we really didn't have too long to think about it, as of course it falls apart as we're descending down into these ancient ruins. We reach the end of the ruins, and we once again don't find the knife, but we do find the third and final piece to the compass as the ruins once again begin to come down around us and we need to make a harrowing escape. We climb up out of the ground, find Buck again, he's not happy with us, we follow the compass one more time, we get there, Buck's waiting for us, you get it. This one does involve a little bit of cliff diving though, so that's fun, but maybe not the best idea considering how everything has been coming down around us lately. The lake we jumped in leads us to another set of ruins underground, and I've gotta say, this area looks really nice. I am very impressed with how well Far Cry 3 holds up overall. At the end of these ruins, we don't find another piece of the compass, but we actually find a place that we can insert the compass into the wall, which will magically push this statue back with their ancient technologies and allow us access into the secret chamber. It turns out we're engaging in just a little bit of grave robbing as we arrive at the end of the area and find that the knife is actually inside of this ancient casket. Obviously it's trapped, so now we need to make another race for the exit. Surprisingly, Buck wasn't actually waiting for us on the surface. We need to head over to his house where he's been keeping Keith so we can make the exchange knife for key. We head down into the locked basement and find that Keith really was being held here. That's pretty lucky because I don't think we actually really asked for any evidence that Keith was actually being held here, we just kinda trusted this guy at his word. But when we start talking about our plans for walking out of here, Buck interrupts us doing his best Trevor Phillips impression and informs us that actually we aren't going anywhere. He's trapped us in his basement with a knife and he's ready to take us down. I guess we're ignoring all of the guns that I've got in my pocket for right now. That leads us into this weird dream ballet hand-to-hand combat final fight with Buck where we're battling for this knife and doing all of these little quick time events. This felt kinda weird when it happened in-game, but I guess it makes a lot of sense that the main enemies in this game are kinda just regular guys, so the final showdown isn't gonna feel super compelling if you just shoot them. This gives you at least something to do in the combat. But anyway, we managed to take out Buck, and now Keith is relatively safe. We can go ahead and escape with him. And we earn the achievement Retake Wall Street for rescuing Keith. We bring Keith back to the group, which is a pretty happy reunion, but Jason isn't feeling the joy. Based on what Buck told us, both of our brothers have now been killed by Voss and Hoyt, so now we're up for double the revenge. The benefit of killing Buck, though, is that we no longer need to make a choice between giving the knife to him or Citra. We can just go ahead and bring it to Citra, earning her allegiance. Citra asks us what it is we really desire, and our first answer is to save our friends, but it's clear that that's not what this is really about anymore. At this point, the main thing that we want is revenge on the guys that did all of this. We walk through a tunnel of paintings, and Citra gives us a little rock yacht history lesson. Citra asks us to prove ourselves one more time. If we can help out in freeing some of the captive rock yacht warriors, she will help us out with whatever we need. We head over to a place called Churchtown where we meet some of the rock yacht warriors who inform us Voss's trucks are going to be passing through the town very shortly, so we need to set up some explosives to stop their path. We plant the explosives and get up on top of a tower to lie in wait. When the trucks show up though, they don't seem like the pirates that we're used to fighting. They actually seem a lot more military, but our RPG doesn't discriminate and we can go ahead and start opening fire. We take out the majority of the guys that were guarding the convoy vehicle, but the big main vehicle slowly begins to pull away. We can't seem to blow it up, so we're gonna need to chase it down. And we actually do that in a car, that's new. We run the convoy vehicle down and take out the couple of guards that were still present on it, and we open up the back to free the remaining prisoners, but we find that Voss was actually lying in wait and definitely ready to attack us. When we wake up, we find that we have once again been captured by Voss. We are tied up and he's telling us the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something to change. I would say that this speech and this scene here with Voss is like the Voss scene from this game. He keeps talking about the definition of insanity, how he's killed us over and over again, but we keep coming back and it's making him feel crazy. But now he has us all wrapped up where he wants us, as we're tied up to this cinder brick that he can push down into the water, and we are gone. We hit the bottom of the water, but of course that's not going to be the end of the game. Getting free from our ropes is as easy as mashing the spacebar, you know, how it would be in real life if this went down. We get up out of the water and emerge from a nearby waterfall and find that Voss did learn his lesson a little bit. He managed to take all of our guns away when he launched us down this time, but he left us with our knife. Rookie mistake. So now we can creep around and take out all of the nearby pirates to get their guns. And honestly, I kinda love this. I had all of the super late game gear at this point, so it was kinda nice to go back to these very basic weapons for a level. We need to make our way over to the convoy that's now been loaded up onto a helicopter. This is obviously super heavily guarded, but I try to take my chances on just running through and getting there before it takes off. But that doesn't go super well. So we pivot over to a much slower, much stealthier strategy. That works pretty well until we manage to make our way all the way around to pretty close to the helicopter, at which point we can just go ahead and make a run for it. We're on a timer here, we don't need to kill every single enemy. We get inside and all of those guards that we just ran past don't manage to keep us down or board the helicopter in time for us to threaten the pilot and take off. You know, maybe we should have taken out some more of the guards on the ground though, as one guy with an RPG takes a shot at our helicopter and manages to crash us down once again. We come to, and Voss is once again standing over us. He asks us if he's ever told us the definition of insanity, which is super fitting, before he shoots us one more time as the game goes black. I really didn't know what to expect at this point. Were we gonna come to and find that we've taken control over another member of our friend group, or what's going on? But it turns out that we wake up at the bottom of a pile of corpses, and we manage to push our way up to the surface. Once we're on the surface, we scare off some nearby villagers who are convinced that we just came back from the dead, and they're kind of right, before we get picked up by Dennis, who asks how it's possible that we're still alive when we check our pocket and see that the bullet was caught by a lighter that was there, I guess. Seems like pretty low odds, but you know, it's happened in real life, so what can you say? We head over to a nearby shack to collect all of our weapons that have been conveniently stashed there, and we earn the achievement Have I Told You for discovering the definition of insanity. While we didn't really manage to rescue those prisoners from the convoy, Citra is still willing to have us return. She gives us a drink and tells us that it's poison to people that are weak, so I guess we're really rolling the dice on this one. When we wake up, we look around and realize that we're inside of Citra's temple. Everything looks kind of normal. I mean, there's no people around, but it's not super unusual. Oh, except for the giant ink monster that is taking over the skies, and then we have a bow and arrow in our hand that we need to shoot at it. Fighting a huge monster like this is definitely pretty different from everything else we've done in this game so far, but honestly it's not super difficult. We have all of these flame arrows that we're trying to shoot into the monster's eye, while the monster does big attacks and eventually starts sending out some little guys as well. All the while, Citra is telling us a story about how a great warrior was able to conquer this beast, cut its head off, and become the warrior that would lead the Rakyat tribe. And what do you know, we do just that. Eventually we knock the monster down, which allows us to run up its arm and eventually get up right next to its eyes and stab them out. It seems like we did a pretty good job in that trial because we cut back to the real world with a scene that I don't really think I can show on YouTube. Once Citra sits down in a more camera-friendly position, she informs us that we have earned our Tatau and we are officially a Rakyat warrior. So now it's time to put that street cred that we've earned to the test as we raise all of the other warriors up, as it's finally time for us to storm Voss's compound and take him out. That rousing speech is a little bit weird though, as we do finally approach Voss's compound all on our lonesome. Our element of surprise seems to be a little bit ruined though as we walk up the steps and the TV is switched to our least favorite channel. Seems like Voss knew we were coming and he's prepared to set his entire compound on fire to prevent us from getting to him. Obviously, the compound is on high alert, and there are quite a few guards ready and waiting for us as we begin making our way through. We continue creeping forward towards Voss's actual area of the compound when he jumps out from around a corner and stabs us. We've really got to get better about checking our corners. This takes us into another weird dream world scenario where we have a bunch of versions of Voss charging at us with knives while we mow him down with the Vector. Eventually, this dream ends in a very similar way to our combat with Buck, in a simple hand-to-hand combat over the knife where we get the better of Voss and finally stab and kill the man. Gotta say, it does feel pretty good to finally take out the guy that's been torturing us our entire time on this island. It also feels pretty good to earn the achievement taken for granted for finally getting our payback on Voss. We return to Citra to celebrate the death of her brother, but she reminds us that Voss wasn't acting alone. His boss Hoyt is actually still operating on a nearby island, so if we really want to take down the root of this evil, we're gonna need to find a way over there. Citra asks about our friends, and we tell her that they're actually about to take a boat off the island, but we're not going. We still have some unfinished business here. After that, we return to the cave with all of our friends and inform them about our decision we've made to stick around and maybe do a little bit more adventuring. They are reasonably not super happy with this plan, but also, I mean, they're going out on a boat that's probably gonna sink, right? After the fallout of that argument, we are essentially banned from talking to our friends anymore. I even tried to run back into the cave, but the game simply turned my camera right back around and told me to have a nice day. We call up our old spy buddy Willis and ask him if he has any special means for getting us over to the other island where Hoyt hangs out. And he actually has good news. Turns out he's being pulled from the assignment on this island, and he's actually flying out to Russia right now, so we can go ahead and hitch a quick ride with him. All we need to do is hold off a couple waves of pirates while Willis works on some quick repairs on his plane. I don't love Willis's odds of making it all the way to Russia in this plane that he just needed to repair, but you know, it works well enough for us to hitch a ride over to the other island. We can hop out with our wingsuit on and earn the achievement Higher Than a Kite for arriving at the South Island. Flying down is a little bit weird though. The game makes you land in kind of a specific area. I actually super missed it the first time around, and I honestly really missed it the second time around, but they took it. I kind of expected to land on this island and not really have a safe area to hang out in until we started clearing out some compounds, but it turns out that we find a little town that actually is pretty neutral to us very quickly on. It's pretty lucky that the tale of legendary poker player Jason Brody hasn't spread to this island yet, because we're able to buy our way into a secret game. So we play a little bit of poker so as to not raise any suspicions, before we whistle a special tune that is a little bit of an alert to this guy named Sam here, the one that we're actually here looking for, that we know who he is and we should probably be trusted. We follow Sam outside, and seems like he isn't super pleased about that, until we tell him that we know Willis, and all is forgiven. Looks like we have a pretty good ally moving forward. I was feeling pretty hot, so we quickly run back in for another game of poker and earn the achievement Poker Bully for winning a total of $1,500. When we finally get a sit-down meeting with Sam, he realizes that we're Jason Brody, the guy that finished off Voss and has been a pretty big thorn in the side of Hoyt. He realizes that we're definitely going to need to hide ourselves because Hoyt doesn't actually know what we look like yet, for some reason. I mean, there's like cameras and stuff, but don't worry about it. Sam is a member of the Privateers, the militant group that is employed by Hoyt, and he has a great idea to disguise ourselves. If we find a way to enlist as a new member of the Privateers, we could start working as a two-man operation on the inside. Only issue is that we're going to need to find one of the other new recruits and take them out to steal their gear. The benefit of actually having a man on the inside though is that we do have a lot of information on the best way to approach this new task. Sam gives us the location of the cave where all of the new recruits are being gathered up, so we just need to stealth our way down and take out one of the recruits when they go off on their own. Full stealth in this area can be a little bit challenging though, as there are an absolute ton of people walking around in some of these different areas. Eventually though, we do manage to make it to the water at the bottom of the cave and climb our way in. Then we just need to climb our way back up down the cave into the ship where all of the recruits are being held, and then take one down and steal his clothes, and it's like we're a member of the gang already. The sleeves will cover up all of our tattoos, so anyone that we talk to will be none the wiser. All we need to do is get through our initial orientation and we'll be all good. That is until one of the privateers calls us to the side and asks us if we're interested in making a little bit of money. We don't know exactly what this guy is up to yet, but he thinks that since Voss's empire has crumbled, there's an opportunity for some guys to make a lot of money. We'll keep this in mind for later. We head on over to the main stage where all of the recruits are actually getting formally introduced to their new boss. Turns out we are actually very close to Hoyt right now. This seems like it would be a pretty great moment to take our shot, but I guess we are surrounded by some pretty heavily armored guards, so we probably wouldn't be able to make it out of here. Hoyt gives a speech that is some pretty standard first day orientation at the new job sort of stuff. You know, protect the product, all profits go to him, just your standard stuff. We sign a couple of HR forms, no big deal. But our ears do perk up a little bit when we hear about a special prize he has going this month. Anyone that brings him the head of Jason Brody will get their own island. Honestly, that seems kinda sick, and I think we could do that pretty easily until I realize he probably means not attached to your body. Dang. With the orientation out of the way, we head on outside, and we learn that now that we have the privateer uniform on, as long as we don't provoke anyone, none of the privateers out in the wild will try to attack us either. You would think that maybe that would make it so that the locals would start attacking us instead, but that's not what this is. Sam also has an idea for us. There are actually 3 captains who are planning on overthrowing Hoyt, and if we can take them out and get the list of all of the other traitors, that might get us an in with Hoyt himself. Prior to getting the privateer suit, this new island was actually a pretty dangerous place. Once we left the town, nobody really liked us too much, and we didn't have anything discovered, so we start heading around and collecting some of the radio towers, but it turns out that I'm pretty dangerous to myself, even without the threat of enemies. I was also a little bit concerned that if a lot of privateers spotted me in my privateer uniform killing other privateers, that maybe it would kind of break the game and they would recognize that I was an enemy, so I was trying to be pretty stealthy while I was taking out outposts and generally moving around the world. But, you know, rules are meant to be broken or whatever. We can't be stealthy all the time, right? It's okay if they see us do a little bit of murder and a little bit of pillaging. This game has a lot of collectibles, and now that we have access to the second island, we can go ahead and start wrapping those up, like this one, Dead Letters, for gathering all 20 Letters of the Lost. I guess we should go ahead and work on getting a little bit more progress done on the main story before we finish up our collectibles though, so we sneak into a nearby area that is filled with privateers, and we start slowly taking down all 3 of the captains that are in the area to try to figure out which one has the attendance sheet for the traitor meeting. And what do you know, the third and final guy that we check is actually the one that finally has something on him, except it's not actually the list of traitors, it's a rendezvous note. That's good, but not really what we wanted. I guess we'll have to keep thinking on it. But honestly, getting too much FaceTime with the boss isn't a bad thing, so Sam also invites us to go take on a mission with him as well. Sam leads us directly over to Hoyt's drug fields. Turns out that pirates have planted a bunch of bombs in the area, and they've left us just enough time to get in and defuse them before they blow up. I guess really they've left Sam just enough time to defuse the bombs because we're mostly on defense duty. Turns out that Sam does his best thinking time while he's working on defusing some bombs, because now that he's processed it, he actually thinks we should check out an old mining area by the gorge, because that might be where the list of traitors actually is. And what do you know, he's actually onto something. We get to a good vantage point and zoom in on this meeting between the traitor forces, and this seems like it'll be super useful for us. Having a faraway vantage point actually turns out to be kind of a problem though. Now we need to fight our way through all of the defenses on the gorge to run back over and get the roll sheet before all of the people actually make it out of the meeting. We need to be pretty quick, so I guess it's time for us to blow our cover and start moving a little quicker. Our shots that we put out from far away turn out to have worked, as we do manage to make it to the bridge where the meeting was happening, and we can grab the list of traitors. That is until I get a little bit greedy looking for kills and I get absolutely smoked by a rocket launcher. So we do the entire mission again, except this time instead of looking for some extra kills, we jump off of the bridge with our glider suit and glide down to relative safety. I mean, these guys could definitely still get us if they really wanted to. We call Sam and let him know the good news, and he tells us that we should prepare to be in character for our meeting with Hoyt that's happening very soon. After that, we go back to doing some more exploration. We collect our 60th relic to earn the achievement Archaeology 101. This game's actually a little interesting because there is a total of 120 relics, but the game actually only makes us grab 60, so we won't complain. After that, we go ahead and wrap up our last couple of outposts that we had remaining to earn the achievement Island Liberator. This will make moving around the world much easier as we won't have nearly as many random enemies popping up around the map. The final collectible in the game are memory cards. There are a total of 20 of them, and they're actually all hidden within other outposts. So once we manage to get all of the outposts, we're obviously able to go collect the final one of these to earn the achievement Memory to Spare. At this point, I decided we're kind of on an achievement roll now, so let's go ahead and wrap up the couple that we have remaining. First up, we hop on a glider and glide way out into the ocean where the water is the deepest, so we can hop out and earn the achievement Freefall for free falling more than 100 meters and living the fall. After that, we head on over to a random beach and find a buried Hollywood star, and for clicking on him, we earn the achievement Say Hi to the Internet. This is kind of cool because this is where the cover of the game is, with Voss sitting in front of his head. I feel like it's kind of iconic art. And our final achievement for this little section is the good stuff for crafting a special syringe. Again, I really didn't touch the syringes in this playthrough other than for getting achievements and for healing, but you know, it's expensive and it's cool stuff. But now back to the main story, we reunite with Sam and walk directly into Hoyt's office. Seems like we could maybe just pop him right now, but we're gonna play things a little bit cooler than that. We hand over our folder including all of the information on the traders that we've tracked down, and honestly, Hoyt seems to be pretty impressed by our work. But Hoyt actually wants us to do one more thing before we make our way into the inner circle. He has a prisoner down in the basement that he wants us to interrogate and rough up a little bit. And he's going to be watching us on the camera feed the whole time, so there's going to be no funny business whatsoever. Walking through Hoyt's compound is a little bit of a trip. There are guards here just watching the intro sequence from the beginning of the game, which includes the little bit of uncut portion where the gang gets run up on by all of the locals. The idea of torturing whoever this poor soul is in the basement is really not very appealing, but Sam convinces us that this is our only opportunity to convince Hoyt that we're loyal. And we are super not ready to do the torturing when we walk inside the cell and realize that the prisoner is our brother Riley, who we thought had died. Obviously, Riley is going to be a little confused seeing his brother walk in as his interrogator, so Jason makes the very quick move to cover his mouth and hit him as quick as he can to show him that there's something weird going on here and he's not messing around. So we spend a little bit of time roughing Riley up, but really this is just stalling so that Sam can get the camera feed set on a loop for 38 seconds, buying us a little bit of time to plan. Jason's great idea is just to grab his brother and try to make a break for it, but we're kind of in the center of the compound now. We will instantly be killed by guards if we attempt that, and Riley is way too beaten up anyway. So it seems like the only real play here is to tell Riley we'll come back for him at some point. We're gonna have to continue roughing him up to convince Hoyt to trust us. Sure, we might have gone a little overboard, but we really want those good boy points with Hoyt. Something something boy from Detroit. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but seems like our acting was pretty good. Hoyt bought the whole thing and is inviting us and Sam to his regular poker night with the boys. This is a great opportunity for us to get in there, talk shop, and maybe just take this guy out for good. It feels like maybe we should leave the compound before talking to Sam about our brilliant plan to take Hoyt out, but he's just gonna go ahead and spill everything right here. He wants us to go take out the main communication tower on the island, and then with all of that chaos being created, at the poker game, we'll be able to take Hoyt out with no issues. And honestly, this is the point of the game where I really started to suspect that we were gonna get double-crossed by Sam at some point. Maybe he wanted to take Hoyt out so he could be in charge, I don't know. We also earned the achievement Deep Cover for not blowing our cover during the interrogation. It turns out that the island's main communication center is actually pretty heavily guarded. Seems like we're gonna have a really tough time getting up to the main doors undetected. Or at least that was kind of what I was thinking to myself when I saw the sheer number of dudes that were hanging out in front of this place, but turns out you can just walk right up and plant the explosive, no detection required. It's a little more difficult to avoid the enemies when we're actually inside of the communication center, but luckily we're carrying just the thing for that. Once we get through to the other side of the communication center, we can walk up and plant a bomb on the big satellite dish that they use for all of their communications, just as Sam is touching down with a helicopter that we can hop in while we're going to detonate the big dish. Kind of feels like maybe we could have taken the helicopter up here most of the way and then just taken out the people immediately guarding the dish instead of doing all of that other stuff, but I digress. That mission was definitely good for one thing though, at least. That gave us enough points to finally pick up our final tattoo skill as we earn the achievement Fully Inked for getting every single skill unlocked. And earning that achievement is kind of our sign that we're ready to pass the point of no return. We can meet back up with Sam at Hoyt's compound, and it's time for the poker game. We're going to be running the distraction while Sam pulls a knife out of his boot and takes Hoyt down. The game seems to start out as a pretty regular poker game, but just as we're getting ready to make our big move with Sam, turns out they have one more trick to play on us. Hoyt is actually the one to stab Sam, and now we're here left alone facing down Hoyt and his two guards. But I guess it's back to game time before we die. So it turns out that maybe our acting isn't quite as good as we thought it was. Hoyt was never really fooled by us and obviously realized who we were immediately. I mean, that would make sense, right? He did, for sure have us on video. Turns out that Hoyt is honestly kind of a surprisingly fair guy though. He offers us the chance to bet our life in this game of poker, where every time we lose a hand, he's gonna cut a finger off. I mean, seems a little less bad than the alternatives. Turns out we have one more trick up the sleeve though. Once our first finger gets cut off, we come face to face with Hoyt, without his guards this time, back in the land of the Dream Ballet. Hoyt absolutely had us pinned down in a completely unwinnable position. I mean, he's sitting in front of us with a weapon, and there were at least 2 armed guards in that room with us as well. Plus, even if we took these guys out, the people outside are going to hear the gunshots, and we'll never be able to get away. So I don't know if I'm really a fan of this being the final big encounter with the boss, but, it's fine. And it's also super convenient that Hoyt tells us that Riley's been relocated to the airstrip and his plane's about to take off. I mean, we never would have known that otherwise. Especially considering we got a couple clean knife shots in on him moments after that, and there would have been no time to interrogate anyway. We earn the achievement Poker Night for winning the poker game as our screen slowly fades back in to find that we managed to kill both Hoyt and about 1 million of his personal guards in this same room. Again, would have really liked to play that chunk, but warrior spirit or whatever. The pretty unintense showdown with Hoyt does get made up for a little bit when we have this pretty intense shootout on the airfield as we're really running around looking for Riley before his plane takes off while fighting off so many guys that are running straight at us. It turns out that they actually pulled him off of the plane that he was supposed to be on to kind of lock him away and hide him for us once they knew that we were coming down here. We're back to a pretty familiar problem where there are reinforcements pulling up, but Riley is just in no shape whatsoever to run away from them. But luckily, this is our brother that can fly. And, he has his pilot's license for a plane. A helicopter couldn't possibly be that different, right? Again, admittedly, this is another pretty sick sequence as we're very slowly flying away as Riley fumbles with the controls, and we're on the minigun fighting off vehicles, planes, cars, all sorts of stuff that's trying to chase us down. Riley lands us right next to the doctor's mansion, but it seems like there's been some sort of accident here. The building is on fire, and that can't be a good sign, right? Surprisingly, the doctor is actually still here and alive. I kind of thought we would find him dead or just completely missing, but he informs us with his final breaths that our friends have all been carried away to Citra's temple. So now we know where to go. Thanks, Doc. Sorry about all those accusations earlier. We take Riley to meet back up with Citra to see what's actually going on here when Citra blows something in our face, which immediately knocks us out. Getting really tired of that trick. It turns out that Citra has fallen in love with the warrior version of Jason Brody, and she is very not happy that we've recollected the Infinity Stones that were our friends, and doesn't really want to let us leave. She wants us to be the warrior to lead the Rakyat people. Luckily, with the leader position unfulfilled, there's nobody here to tie a super secure knot, and we're able to get free pretty quickly. Of course, we have one more dream sequence though, as we walk along a burning path with the Rakyat blade in hand. We have some visions from our friends that are trying to talk to us, convincing us to come back, and then there's also some visions of Citra trying to convince us to stay and lead the Rakyat people since we have the ultimate warrior spirit. Once our final spirit vision ends, we wake back up and find that we have the Rakyat knife placed against Lisa's throat. That's not where I expected to find myself. The game gives us a final choice between saving our friends or joining Citra, and I choose save our friends because it really feels like that's the ending that they wanted us to go for. Turns out that this choice actually has some unintended consequences though. When Dennis finds out that after everything he and Citra did for us was for nothing, he is not happy and makes a move to stab us when Citra jumps in front of the blade. This was kind of another incredibly shocking turning point. I mean, Dennis was talking about how much he's loved Citra since the very beginning of the game, and this is a pretty good twist. Seeing Citra die does seem to shut down the rage from Dennis, which is pretty good because he definitely could have got us with the knife while we were bending down over here. We earn the achievement What a Trip for attending the final ceremony, as Jason Brody reflects on the fact that he has killed like a ton of people, and now he's gonna have to try to return to normal civilian life, which seems like it's gonna be pretty difficult, honestly. I mean, he probably won't have to worry about it because we're all leaving on that tiny boat that Daisy fixed up, so like probably not gonna make it anyway, but you know, worth considering. And we actually managed to do the perfect sync up where we earn our final achievement as the game completes, so now we can officially say we've done everything in Far Cry 3. But how did we do? I managed to complete Far Cry 3 in 22.8 hours according to our Steam play clock, and compared to How Long to Beat's estimate of 36.5 hours for completionist, I'm gonna say that was pretty good. I had obviously never played this game or any other Far Cry game before, so I wasn't coming in with like any knowledge of the story or ways to do things faster or anything, but I don't know, that seems like a very quick completion, and I definitely wasn't rushing the points or anything. I was walking around, looking at stuff. I don't know, I guess I was just moving at a clip for this one for some reason. I guess I did immediately start going for as many of the safe houses as I could, and also all of the collectibles early, so that probably gave me enough money and ammo and all of the good guns from the earlier point of the game than a lot of people would have been doing it if they were doing things strictly more casually, whereas I knew I was going for 100% from the beginning. But yeah, I don't know, that seems pretty quick. Overall, I definitely really enjoyed this game. Makes me super excited to check out more games in the Far Cry franchise, though a lot of the games in the future include more multiplayer or co-op based achievements, which makes me go a little bit, because I am primarily a single player guy when it comes to story based games like this. But you never know, maybe at some point we'll go check out more games of the series. The story was super fun, made a lot of sense. My only real complaint would be our showdowns with the bosses being in that kind of dreamscape thing where we just wake up and we've killed everybody around us. It was kind of cool to wake up from the Hoyt fight and see that we had taken out like everybody in the main building with us, and they did make up for it with the cool air fighting after that, but I don't know, it's just not what I was expecting, I guess. But it is kind of difficult in these games that just have like one human enemy that you're fighting for it to be a satisfying end game anyway. But anyway, please feel free to let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Obviously, a lot of people will have played this game before, so maybe there's something I missed or left out of the edit that was super impactful to you. Or, you know, maybe you just have some fond memories in general. I think most people look at Far Cry 3 as being like the peak of the franchise, maybe a little bit later on. I'm not really sure. Again, not super in tune with this franchise, but it's something that I've always been interested in getting into. I believe this one's also on the shorter end. A lot of the newer ones are kind of longer, going into like 60, 100 hours for the 100%. But honestly, that's pretty fine too. Like a big, beefy RPG like this that you could really get into sounds like a lot of fun. But as always, feel free to leave any comments you have in the comment section down below, or if you have any games that you want to recommend me check out on the channel as well, you can leave those there. Thanks so much for watching, hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you next time as well. See you!